I'm Meteorologist Nicholas Herboso. On this edition of Next Weather, we're talking about the drought, and we're looking at the forecast through April. We're going way out in the forecast models, trying to see what the trends will be. We're not going to be doing any kind of specific forecasting, but hopefully this can kind of explain some of the forecast tools that we use when looking at the super long range to actually get an idea of what's coming at us, even if it's super far away. Let's start with what has happened. What we're looking at is the drought monitor, and this is showing that we are way below normal for our rainfall amounts for the year so far this year. That orange color is a severe drought, and it has expanded significantly across the Fox 10 viewing area. So we need rain. I will mention that as of the time of recording this, which is on April 2nd, on Easter, we're expecting a decent rain chance. After Easter, though, there are still some question marks on if we'll get any other big fronts that come through to really give us a healthy rain chance. And you'll see this in some of the modeling that I'm going to show you. It looks quite interesting, and hopefully you can learn a little something about the long-range forecasting. First of all, the wonderful meteorologists at the Climate Prediction Center, they look at these long-range ensemble models, AI models, and all that stuff, and they put out a forecast that says, what is the likelihood of wetter than normal or drier than normal conditions? Well, here in this chart, you see it says, okay, we'll be close to, if not maybe slightly drier than normal for our local area. That's where Mobile is on that map. That's what I'm calling our local area. Wetter than normal conditions out in the central part of the country. How are we looking at this, though? They are looking at different models. How are we getting this forecast? We're looking at different models. We're looking at every resource that we have. We're looking at the overall global patterns to try to indicate what the pressure pattern over the continental United States will be, which will dictate if we get rain or not. It's all tied to the big picture. So this is a bit of an eye chart. I know it's a lot to see, but let me try to simplify this. First of all, we're looking at rainfall over the next week and a half here. I mean, this is a long range model. This is the GFS ensemble, that's where that E comes in, AI version. So the ensemble means multiple members of a model, multiple different types, or I should say it better, multiple different runs of the same model with the initial conditions tweaked very slightly. So we get slight variations in the model. This gives us a good forecast because we can account for error in our forecast models, and it gives us a better idea. So out of the 30 members here, all of them say it's going to rain on Sunday. So we're very confident that it's going to rain on Sunday, and we have been very confident in that forecast with that. We've been like that for a while. So Easter Sunday, it's going to rain. Look at the amounts. Most members have us around a little less than, a little around 1/4 of an inch, maybe a little more than 1/4 of an inch, definitely less than 1/2 inch. So the 1/2 inch would be blue in color, and there's only one ensemble member here that actually has us in the blue color. So we look at all of these members, and you just look at the pattern. Okay, is it, if I were to mentally average all these things together, what do we get? And actually here, the green line actually does that for us. That's about 0.32 inches as the average of all of these members. So that's a good estimate as how much rain we'll get on Sunday. Now we'll see if that verifies. We'll probably see some locally higher amounts, but because this doesn't account for the nuances of heavy downpours and thunderstorms, this is just looking at the big picture. Okay, but we're really confident. Okay, there's a rain chance that happens there on Sunday. What about after this? How are we getting this long-term forecast like of at near normal or drier than normal conditions? Well, do you see any color here over the next period after that Easter Sunday rain chance? No, there's definitely going to be a slightly drier period after our Easter Sunday rain chance. And look at the dates down here again. We're looking into dates like the 11th, 12th, 13th with not a lot, at least according to the GFS ensembles. And there's a little bump once we get to around the maybe, what is that, 16th, 17th? So we're looking way out there. But you notice how you don't see this again? You don't see a huge block of multiple members showing a rain chance all at the same time. First of all, that shows that we're not very confident in this forecast. There's a lot of uncertainty in the long-range forecast, which makes sense because it's a long-range forecast, but also shows that maybe the models aren't seeing a very super active pattern, which may lead to drier than normal conditions. So kind of looking at the data to get a different point. We're going to switch and we're going to look at the European. Same chart, just the European AI version ensembles. Again, all members show it's going to rain. The mean takes us about ½ an inch. So average all these together, you get about ½ an inch of rain during that Sunday period. Looking beyond that. And it's kind of random. It looks like almost there's a little line of members trying to show a little bump here, and that bump happens around, and these numbers are really small. That's like what, the 10th? That's a Thursday. A little bump there. But again, you don't see any big bumps. You don't see any super consistent walls of blocks filled with color. So this maybe has a hint that especially as we get through, say, the 13th, 14th, 15th, we might be in a slightly drier pattern at that point. So that doesn't mean big rain chances there. That would worsen the drought. There's a simpler way of looking at this. I love this chart. This is all of the GFS ensemble members plotted, and we're essentially looking at the bottom half of the chart that we were just looking at. We were looking at all the ensemble members plotted and looking for the green line. The green line will tell us what the mean is. As we go to Sunday, and you can see it here, I'll take it full screen. Easter Sunday, a little over ½ an inch of rain. That's what we said. ½ an inch, getting up to a little over ½ an inch. When's the next bump in this line? Well, you have to go all the way to next Thursday. There's a little bump there. Do we get some rain showers? But notice how it kind of goes pretty steady towards the end on this green line. And that says, okay, especially during this period here, that is the period of, what's that, the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. It doesn't look like we have major rain chances there, at least according to this run of all these ensemble models. Again, hinting at maybe a slightly quieter pattern during that period, which would probably mean a drier pattern for us. So we're looking at rainfall. Now I can switch gears. I'm actually going to look at temperatures. Temperatures can also get us an idea because we can look for the cold fronts. So this chart is going to go from left to right in time. The warmer colors are warmer temperatures. The cooler colors are cooler temperatures. Here it is. This is the European AI ensemble. One thing that you notice, remember we're going through time here. The next few days, warm, 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 right? See all those yellows and oranges. Then, uh-oh, it tanks. There's that cold front that happens on Easter Sunday. And this is kind of cool to look at it on a big chart like this. And again, all of these little lines, all of these numbers are different runs of the European forecast model. And they're all agreeing that it's going to get colder, or cooler, I should say, by early next week after Easter. After this, do you see any big blocks of blue again? Not really. It doesn't look like a super active pattern here, again, as we approach mid-March. It looks like we have some steady warming. If you look at the mean down here, the green line, it's steadily climbing up and up and up and up and up each day. Keeps climbing. So it's almost like we just settle onto the on-ramp into summer. It looks like it just consistently gets warmer day by day. We can actually go farther out. This is the European model going out the full time that it can go. However, we can switch up to the extended European. This is also referred to as the weeklies, looking at temperatures every 6 hours, very far out. We're actually looking out into May if you look at the numbers down there at the bottom. So what do we see? First of all, warm, warm, warm until Easter Sunday. Then a cold front passes. So there's all, see all the cooler colors there? So that's that cooler air that comes in. You can see the mean drops down. But then we just go on this on-ramp. A very, very gradual warming. A very gradual warming. Until, as we're in May, we're feeling May temperatures and maybe even a little warmer. Some of the high ends of what the model, the ensemble members are showing are actually quite interesting. It gets pretty warm. But I don't see any huge swings like this. This is not swinging like a pendulum. Maybe indicating that our weather pattern might slow down a little bit as we get into May, which is pretty typical. So this is nothing revolutionary being said on this long-range chart here. But again, it does look like we're going to be warming up, which makes sense, into May. And I don't see any super big changes in this kind of 10 to 15 day time frame right here. I don't see any super big systems coming through, so it may be after this Sunday system we might have a slightly drier period. All of these tools that we're looking at to try to get to this forecast, it's super interesting, and these maps are so interesting to look at, or these charts I should say, are super interesting to look at. Again, this is something that for meteorologists like us, we look at this rarely compared to the regular week-out models that we look at all the time. We rely on the European 5 to 7 days out, the GFS 5 to 7 days out. Those are great models, and they do a great job. And we rely on the ensemble versions of those models as well, like you're seeing here, to get us a good forecast out 7 days. But beyond 7 days, it gets murky, and it's really hard to tell something specific like, hey, it's going to rain on, I don't know, May 3rd. We just can't tell that at this point. But we can say that temperatures might be slightly warmer than average during that period, based on some of the things that we're seeing here in the long-range forecast. But again, we can't get into specifics. So hopefully that gives you some context as to the kind of tools we are working with as meteorologists to create these forecasts. Again, we need the rain. Here's that drought monitor again. We are super, super, super dry. So we need the rain. Hopefully this Sunday rain chance, Easter Sunday, can do something for us, but we could use a lot more. And it looks like that period after Easter Sunday is going to be a slightly drier one. If you want more context,
monitor, and here's your reminder for the forecast. We are still at an above average season according to Colorado State University's forecast as well as the National Hurricane Center and NOAA's forecast. We've had 3 named storms so far, no hurricanes and no.
You can sometimes find them on our website on YouTube. There you can see an example of what that section of the app looks like. So head to the App Store for downloading the Fox 10 Weather app. Head to your smart TVs, Roku TVs App Store, search up Fox 10 Gulfstream or Fox 10 News, and you'll be able to download it, open it up like you see there, and get access to a great amount of information in your forecast. So hopefully this is an interesting one for you. But for now, I'm Meteorologist Nicholas Herboso for Next Weather.